Chairman, congratulations on your appointment as the Chairman of the National Sport Commission. My name is Idris Jibril. With me here is my colleague,
Vivian Thomas. So when you were talking about the Sports Commission, you talked about rising from the ranks, and you being an expert and all that. So I believe you also rose from the rank, and then this is like your specialty. So I want to ask, what's your vision for the future of sports development in Nigeria under your leadership?
Well, we already have our work cut out for us. Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who gradually and with his own natural boldness was able to wake up and make the bold decision. He said, look, we are going to wind down the ministry and go back to commission. It's a very bold decision. This has been on the cards for many, many years, couldn't have been done. Only President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will have that kind of drive to take those kind of decisions, who he believes is the best interest of the country, both in the short term and in the medium and the long term, and to make that decision. So, and part of the mandate that we have is to not just run sports as a game, as a development like that. No, we have to find a way to make sports an economy, to create a sports economy in Nigeria. All over the world, they see sports as a key driver of the economy. They just see it as a play. People go to me, no, play is just a minute part of the sport. It's the economy around it. And our mandate here is to see what can we do to unlock the potentials and harness the potentials of sports economy in Nigeria. And that is basically what we are supposed to, that's the vision. And when you talk about sports economy, if people don't see it as what is it? If you have a very proper and a well-run sports industry, it unlocks the potential of the sports economy, which means there is a lot of value chain industries that feed up sports, which now will come up, and their business and their whatever they do will be tied around sports. For example, even the footwear industry, if you have a proper sports industry, people will need footwear to play the game, all kinds of sports. Somebody can set up with the factory that will be supplying those, serving the whole industry. If you talk to the textile, for example, people need to get the kitting, both the replicas for the fans and also the official kits for the sports. It's a huge market. In Nigeria now, we can sell hundreds of millions of replicas. You see people with foreign content, with foreign jerseys all over the country. They're spending huge money to do that. If you create that kind of industry around us, that can cascade not just on the textile industry, even to the farms, because somebody must do the cutting. Somebody must drive it to the textile. Somebody must produce the material. Somebody must take it to the tailoring factories and stuff like that, the designers that do the kitting. So it's a huge value chain that now can feed up sports as well. We look at the asset utilization. We have so many sport assets in Nigeria all over the place, lying fallow. But if you have a proper system running, those assets will be used more often and more professionally. And that will create a lot of jobs, because there are security people around there are people selling market, there are people whose their job is only when you have the sports activities that they come and sell market and make money and live on it. To do that, if you look at the transportation, tourism, and restaurant and stuff like that, all those feeds up when you have a proper sports economy, because people travel to watch games, they have to eat food, they have to sleep in hotels, all that come through the sports. That's what we call the weekend economy. If you have a proper domestic league working, every week, thousands of people will travel and be productive, because they spend money, well distribution and so on. That's the kind of economy we're trying to create. And then at the end of the day, we will start looking at how many people sports is employing directly and indirectly. It should be millions of people if you do it rightly. What is our contribution to the GDP? It shouldn't be less than 3% if you do it rightly. What is the taxes that's coming back to the government if this thing is done properly? And these are all what the president is here, and this is what we are here to unlock. And that's the vision. That's the final outcome we are looking at. But before that, what are we supposed to do? First, we have to come and agree that our sport is a national asset. So it requires all kind of legislation, kind of privileges to be able to develop to this level we are looking at. Secondly, we have to create the legislations, because most of the enablers to get things done are proper legislation. If you have proper legislation, can unlock an industry. You see what happened with the telco industries. Simple legislation created the MTNs, the whatever it is, and all these telcos. You can see what is happening, how many people now are around that. Before we only have one NITEL. that have less than 400,000 subscribers. But now, when they do the proper legislation, unlock the industry, see what is happening now. You can't imagine what telco is doing in Nigeria. This is how we want sports to grow to be. So we use legislation to create that kind of enablers to get the sports going. Thirdly, government have to work now to invest in the infrastructure as well, because you need there has to be a first driver. Somebody have to invest in the infrastructure to get it right that can get this to be work. So these are the three pillars we are working on. When they started the Premier League in England, for example, that everybody now seems to follow across the world, government took the drive, put about £200 million in the infrastructure, in the social ecosystem. And now that's infrastructure they put together, unlock the potentials of the English Premier League, and now make it what it is today. Government put 200 million, but now over the years, as our last 2 years, I think the British government earned almost 6 billion in taxes alone. So for an investment of just 200 million, look at the jobs they are putting, over 500,000 direct jobs in the Premier League. Look at the value chain, look at the wealth distribution, look at the economy they are creating. Government is still taking money back now. Every year they make over 5 billion, 6 billion of taxes they get from the Premier League alone. So we have to go through that direction if we really want to achieve it. And luckily, Mr. President is behind it. So this is the vision. The three pillars is we have to work to agree that it's a national asset. Secondly, we have to do the legislation. Thirdly, invest in the infrastructure to create the enabling environment for the industry, in the entire ecosystem to take off.
I really want you to throw more light, especially on the infrastructure side of it, because we've been criticized a lot in that field. So can you tell me what strategies you have to enhance
sports run basically unfunded. So part of the work we are doing is to resolve the funding issue, create a proper framework that would ensure there is a sustainable flow of revenue and funding into sports, both from the public and from the private sector. So it's part of the strategies we are working on, and it's part of what will come when we do the amendments to upscale the National Sport Commission Act. Those things could be resolved, and sports could be able to probably attract quite a decent funding that will help development and growth. And those acts will provide the necessary incentives to the private sector that will make them to come and invest. So if we resolve that, then the next is how to apply the funds. So we will apply the funds to provide the necessary infrastructure, and also not just providing the infrastructure, you have to have a plan for the maintenance of the infrastructure. If you don't, you can provide the best infrastructure today. If you go away for 6 months, you come back, it's rotten because there's no plan for maintenance. So it must go pari passu, both the development of infrastructure and the maintenance. And we must think outside the box. You can't be building isolated sports infrastructure, for example, like what we have now at the National Stadium, just a stadium. There's no any other activities around it that generate money. All over the world, when you build a stadium, you have to create other activities around it. You infest it with other activities like the hotel, like the restaurants, like the amusement parks. We have a lot of land here, like the shopping mall and everything. That will make the place 24/7 activity should be happening at the stadium, generating income. Those incomes will go back and to ensure the maintenance of the stadium. Where we cannot do that, we will also hand over the facilities to the private sector, who are better managers and managing as a proper business to do that. Already there's a process ongoing to lease out the Lagos National Stadium in Lagos to be able to get it working. So we will do that. We have over 80 sport infrastructure all over the country. Some are dilapidated, some are lying fallow, some are not being put to the right use. But you can work on all that and lease them out to the right people that can make them work 24/7, while whenever the sports want to use it, can use it. So we can do that. That's why part of what we are trying to work on is to set up under the Act, the National Sport Infrastructure Development and Maintenance Board. That board will be decided to be board of the professionals. That will be 24/7. Their job is to make sure that we are developing more infrastructures across the country and also maintaining them the right way, either through partnership with the private sector, PPP, and so many creative ways to do that. We are not just thinking about building massive infrastructure. Every small community must have a small sports facility in this country. That's how you get the kids and the children to be off distraction, and also have a pathway to be able to harness their talents and see how they can grow to be the best they can. If you look at most of our sportsmen and women are normally coming from a top background and everything like that. But you see, sports gave them a pathway for them to liberate themselves, become famous across the world, and also bring out all their family along with them. So why not? We have 200 million people. We can be able to dominate the world in the talent market. We should be controlling at least 10% of those markets if we can do it right.
Is that like your initiative, or that has been there? That's the committee initiative.
Well, it's part of our initiative that we come what we think that we should do. Yes, we are not trying to invent the wheel. We are trying to see what the other people have been doing and then harnessing our experience. That's why they said if you bring the people that have been in the system, we've been in the system for so long, so we can actually be able to decipher and see what is the issues. You can't be doing the same thing over and over again and expect the same different results. It's not possible. So we have to now take a different turn, learning from what has happened before, the errors that has been before, the mistakes that happened before. Doesn't mean we are perfect. We too will just do our own and push it to a certain level, but we hope to set the foundation where it will be irreversible. Where if anybody comes, the only thing you could do is build on what we have done. So we are not saying we are the best, very best, or we are infallible. No, it's not possible. There's always room for improvement, and you have to move with the times. But we know, we are very deliberate about it, that we want to set the right foundation, the proper structures that will be irreversible, and that will jumpstart the process. And by the time we take it to a certain level, I'm sure in the future some other people will come. But by then the framework has already been there. It's just to push it to the next level and maybe use their ideas, move with the times, and we keep moving forward.
We talked about doing things that are irreversible, and I hope with time we'll actually see the irreversible things you do.
When you put a legislation, it's very difficult to reverse. Somebody has to have justification to be able to go and reverse it. And the legislation are not just for the fun of it. The legislation that we will put in place are for sustainable development of sport. So anybody that will come and want to reverse the National Sport Development Fund, or the Infrastructure Development Fund, or the Arbitration Fund, because part of the problem of sports in Nigeria is dispute resolution. You must be able to have alternative dispute resolution process that will not result to court and that will always derail the football. So you will get that done. And then when you put the policies, sustainable policies that will make sports to work, people will see it. When you put when you put a process where the sports commission will be organized on a very, very professional basis, where we can today wake up and employ. A few weeks ago, you can see the FIRS, for example, saying they are looking for applicants who should be below 26 years old. They are building for the future. So sports commission should be doing that, where we can employ young guys from today with the future that those guys will grow up through the rank of the sport commission tomorrow to be the director, to be the chairman, to be the DG or what, because we have trained them properly in sports development. That's how you create a system. But as we said before, if it is a civil service system, for example, the ministry, anybody can be pulled in from there and taken to another ministry, another one brought here. So the development is distorted. So it can be driven about it. You have a brother, you have a son, you can say, look, I want to be part of sport administration. Then they will try to come and join us and grow through the rank, learning, experiencing, and tomorrow they will be the bosses as well. So that's the irreversible things we will have to do that. And put systems and policies that are difficult to turn around, except you have the justification to do that, or maybe the development in the world and the system have grown beyond those systems, so you have to move with the times, because nothing is static. Sport is always changing. You have to keep moving, but at least you must be moving in the positive direction. And if everybody is moving forward together at the same time, success is guaranteed. Yeah?